Yeah, a couple of announcements. Obviously, a couple of guys with size. A couple of guys we're really excited about. Ben Humrichous is a guy who's we have worked really hard through this process. Very excited about his package, what he brings to us. Extremely versatile. I think he's one of the elite shooters in the country. I think that the versatility, I think he could do everything from play the five to be able to do some of the things that we did with Marcus this year in post-ups. I think that he got incredible range. I think the one thing that always translates, no matter what level you're at, is shooting. And he does that at an extremely high level. I think he's one of the outstanding shooters, will be one of the outstanding shooters that I've coached, and maybe the best one I've seen in my time here. So, a terrific young man, a terrific student, cerebral, high IQ, and again, fit what we were setting out to accomplish in the portal, which is positional size and guys who can shoot it, especially along the front court spots. So really excited about the addition of him and the versatility, and I think has a chance to be just outstanding player for us. So. And then Tomislav Ivisic, very excited about. Very excited I pronounced his name right. So, but a young man that in watching film, he fits 7'1", 240, 250 pounds. He is a very skilled player, can really step out and shoot it. An elite passer, a guy that gives us the ability to protect the rim on the defensive side, can really handle the basketball as well at his size. He's left-handed, and then he has a tremendous amount of experience. Playing on the world stage, playing in the Adriatic League, and has played against high-level guys. He's been extremely well coached. So again, a guy that opens the floor, can pull defenders away from the front of the rim. I'm just excited because I think he's going to be a very talented and gifted offensive player who's got great range, can really shoot it, and excited to add him to our lineup.
Among all the front court players you're bringing in, what kind of versatility does this give you schematically?
A lot. I think the one thing that Ben does, I think the one thing that Kerry gives us, those two are elite shooters. And they're both different. Ben is a guy that, again, has deep range. He shoots it well beyond the NBA arc. He's going to be a high clip guy, but yet I think he's a guy that can play booty ball. I think that again, when you can open the paint, when you can create matchups, I think you're talking about a front court that you could see three of them on the court together. Again, I like the versatility of that. It's a kind of a Minnesota Timberwolves type lineup with spacing, and they each give us a little bit something differently. On the defensive side, Kerry's an elite shot blocker. Ben is a guy that, is a positional guy that can guard multiple positions because he's got great feet. Tomislav's a guy that's proven, rim protector, rebounder, and gives us something different as well at 7'1" and with his length. So, you got Merez, you've got Jason. Those guys are young. So I love the versatility up front of the front court.
Obviously, Orlando had a connection with Tom Saw. Just your process and you personally getting comfortable with him and acclimated, and kind of how you felt for his game.
Yeah, it was speed dating. It was a trip abroad. It was a lot of film. It was a really hard dive. Obviously, Orlando's connection with his twin brother. It was connection with the people that know him. Obviously factored into that, but it was obvious from the basketball perspective what a great fit he was, because it was what we were looking for. In the portal, and one additional piece, but a guy who could stretch it, and a guy who could give us a little physicality, a little more rim presence on the defensive side as well. So, O's factor was in it. There's a lot of film out there. They played USC last year in an exhibition. He had a great game against them, and you start seeing comparative, games and so on and so forth, and you see his ability. So, again, a guy that not many people know about in the States, but worldwide, he's a guy that's made a pretty good name for himself.
Brad, Coleman gave you advantages to stretch five. To have that again, what led you to want to prioritize that, or just that philosophy? Well,
we were number one in the country going into the UConn game offensively. I think it wasn't just Coleman. It was what we did with Marcus, what we did with we were able to do with Quincy. Stretching the floor. You had Kylan. At 6'2", 6'3", 225 pounds, big, strong, physical guard. You go get Ben. And you see his skill set and what he can do. You go get Trey. 6'7", and I love just creating those matchups. And for us, it was simplicity on the offensive side, but it was all about a matchup and creating those matchups. And I think that when you have front court players who can space, I love what Kerry can do. And we've set out to be very diligent in recruiting guys who can make baskets and who can really shoot the basketball and open that paint up. So we'll try to keep finding that versatility.
Zvonimir wasn't cleared till January last year at Kentucky. Do you have any sense of how the process is going to work for Thomas Love?
Differently. That's all I can add. There were different reasons for his. Through every university has different stuff, but outstanding student, and so I think there'll be some, different without diving into the academic world of somebody.
When Ben was in the portal a year ago, were you familiar with him? How odd is it an AIA kid?
No. Great job by Evansville for finding him, and I think those guys are out there. I think that's one of the, we saw one from Morehead State, and it kicked our tail, and so it makes it a little easier to, especially when they're a little older. It caught everybody's attention this year. I think Evansville got off to a 6-0, 7-0 start, and then you saw his impact on their team when he got hurt, and when he came back. But that's the beauty, I guess, of our new world, is you see guys that maybe you wouldn't before, and know about them. But boy, did we love what we saw.
We've heard you talk about positional size a lot for a couple of years. How has that kind of taken precedence or factored into roster building, just in terms of what you guys are?
Number one factor, along with personality. And we give our guys personality tests. We want to make sure through this, use the word speed dating, it's probably tired of hearing me say that, but through this process, and this year's portal is different than last year's portal. We're not going to have the multiple stages. We have the one deadline. We're not going to have the grad transfers. There's very few guys going to come out of the NBA deal and you know, have that impact that we saw last year. This thing is changed. You had to move earlier. It'll be different next year when you lose the COVID year. So it's every year changing philosophical difference, and you know, we're going to dive back into 25s hard with recruits, with high school kids, and you know, so I just think there's changes coming all the time. I think knowing how we want to build it, what we want to do philosophically, has helped us a lot. Our staff has done an incredible job in terms of, hey, these are the guys we want. These are knowing we want positional size, knowing we want shooters, knowing we want the court open. I don't know if that means we're going to win games or not, but at least we know what we're comfortable with, and we're able to go out and recruit those guys.
10 scholarship players, and are there some skill sets or positions you'd still like to add to the roster?
Not much. I mean, we may add one more. I think you can have too many. I think it's an absolute disaster to have too many. I think that there's challenges that come with that. I think availability is a really good thing to have, whether it be late, whether it be semester. But you know, we would potentially look at one more, but beyond that, I don't foresee any more than that. Unless something freakish just happens.
Even with Orlando's connections and maybe watching on the film on Thomas Love, just how important was that trip to maybe go see him? I mean, what did you learn in that part of the process to make this the fit?
Well, connections and relationships are, you know, the most vital piece of that, and those were relationships O had, not me. And so I'm the head coach and need to make some of those connections with his people, and along the way, you hope to build something that lasts a lot longer than this year as well. And you know, the recruiting game is still, and the game of basketball is still about relationships. It's still about people and connectivity. And you know, O obviously had some connectivity, but it was very important for me to be able to do some of those same things.
How much of an asset was it to sell Marcus to Ben to have his success, then go back in the portal, guy from the same league, skilled forward, like?
Yeah, I mean, was there any better player in the portal that, I mean, I don't know, maybe you want to throw Cam in there at UConn, and I mean, there's one or two, but the job that none of you guys talked about Marcus last year, the national people, they didn't even know who he was. So, you know, that's why, you know, all this ranking crap and all this stuff, sorry, me zero, but to be able to have Marcus and to be able to see that success and to see his efficiency numbers rise through the roof as he takes a jump up, huge piece of recruiting material that we took great value in. And you know, to see a player like Terrence Shannon go from 9 or 10 points a game his prior stop to 22 or 23, another big advantage. You know, Quincy had a great year. So our success in the portal has been well documented, and we sure use that. But I think it's also this style of play that's allowed to that, and putting those guys and trusting those guys and being honest with the guys in the portal, what we expect of them, and I think that's been a piece of the success as well.
When do you anticipate bringing all the guys to campus, and what's kind of the first step in molding this into a team?
Yeah, as quickly as possible. You know, you've got to, some guys will be in here for the Maymester, you know, others, it'll be June. You know, obviously, you know, the international admissions piece is a little longer and drawn out than, so we'll see. We hope, you know, that process happens quickly for Thomas Love, but yeah, as soon as we can, we hope to have the group here.
Hope
Where are you defensively on this team? Just as you
What has that philosophy kind of been like?
Well, I think I think we had some deficiencies last year. We lose an elite defender in Terrence. I think Kylan's elite. I think he's special. I'm so fired up about Draven. You saw my comfort with him as a freshman growing at the end of the season. Elite defender. I think that Ty Rogers has that ability to be an elite defender. I think our rim protection will be better. Carey is elite, and I think as we emphasize that, I think it has very, very promising future on that end. Again, I think Tomislav helps protect the rim. I think that positional size, shooting jump shots, impacts the team's abilities to make them. So, Trey is a guy that's been known as a guy who can really defend. So I think we're in a really, really good place there. That's the area where chemistry has to happen the most, and be a point of emphasis for sure.
Last year you were 5 power forwards. It looks more conventional with a Boswell with a big down low. Is it going to be much different in that regard? Is it more conventional?
No. It's just a guy who's a big guard who can post, and he's comfortable because he's played it. I think we're still the same. I think we tried to be that. I think you've got, don't be shocked if you see other guys with, playing in matchups. We're gonna try to keep creating matchups and matchup differences, and that means Kylan's a 40+% three-point shooter. That may mean spacing him some. That may mean Ben on the ball. It may mean Trey on the ball. It may, who knows? It may mean Carey on the ball. I don't know. We've obviously got Ty, Draven, those guys as returners. So I still think it's about the positional size. It's about the matchup, and we're going to continue to hunt those things every chance we get.
How instrumental has Icon been in trying to put together your roster?
Sure. I mean, I think that there's, I think in today's world, when you're filling a roster, there's 3 ways you go about it, and continuity. That was an area last year that was important to us. I think age was another one. We had to identify that last year, and then the third one's talent. And last year, we had a couple of guys potentially coming back in our program that were pros, and we had to go enhance our roster with that. So, obviously Icon's ability to be part of that, and our staff's evaluation is something that's extremely important.
What impact does all these new faces have on scheduling, if anything, when it comes to the non-conference?
It's gonna be harder than ever. I mean, I think we're putting together a great schedule, and a schedule that is as competitive as we are. We're trying to we're still trying to close one more elite game, but as long as I'm the head ball coach at Illinois, we're gonna play people. We're not gonna run from them, and until something changes in a different analytic or schematic. We've got Ken Palm, we've got the net, we've got all those things. We want to make sure that we position ourselves in our non-league to match the games we play in the Big Ten.
Follow up, because you had Spain last year to help build time together and compete. Is there something you can do like that without having to travel overseas?
Maybe. I think as that will potentially be stuff that'll be a little different in the fall, but you're not going to replicate that team building. But team building activities are going to be a big part of what we do.
Right, COVID certainly had an impact on rosters here. How are you approaching continuity in multi-years? Are you looking at this as like all one-year rosters? How are you approaching it going forward?
So it's a little different because I'm not worried about guys transferring. Am I worried about continuity? Absolutely. I think that's where we have to understand, and I guess the general public needs to understand, is that the portal's changed a lot from year to year because the rules have changed, and the timing has changed, and the calendar's changed. This year is not like last year. Next year is not going to be like this year because of the COVID year being done, and everybody having 23, 24-year-old guys. We're not going to have that. We're going to have 20% less people available in the portal as grad transfers next year. So I think we're having to evolve on a year-to-year basis, and there's so much unknown in that. And really, it's very stressful as a coach. It's very stressful because we don't know. But absolutely, I think we're going to find a trend back to freshmen. I think that doesn't prevent them from transferring, so I can't worry about that. But what I can do is try to get the best fits possible through the personality tests we're doing, through the style of play, through the emphasis of what are important in our values, to keep that. So that's a really hard question to answer because the rules have changed on us literally every year, and so it's very much you've got to think ahead, you got to stay ahead, because there's not going to be, I wouldn't want to be in a situation where I got a bunch of scholarships late this year. There's just nobody to go get.
Jeff had a really good tie to Kylan and his family. I think he was the lead on Ben as well. Just what have you seen from him and being able to have those connections and pay off here this offseason?
Jeff's a stud. I mean, he's an absolute, rock star when it comes to the recruiting game. And, sometimes it goes in cycles with coaches and recruiting guys and this and that. And we've got a great staff. It comes from connections. It comes from relationships, and the Kylan situation, paid off because of all the work that he has done and past recruiting experiences. So you try to keep all relationships on a good note, and even when you don't get them. And in today's world, that's paid off for us pretty well.
The pieces that you've added up front, does that change anything for Morez Johnson in terms of expectations or
Not at all.
position-wise or anything?
Morez is one of the top players in the country. He's got a bright future. I think if anything else, it helps him. I think it creates great opportunity for him. I'm excited for him with USA's coming up. He's had a really good postseason. He's working extremely hard. He's just going to go through what typical freshmen go through, and that's the learning curve. But the things he does are different than anybody else we've got. You're talking about an elite athlete who's above the rim and rebounder and multi-position guard defensively, and just plays with a tenacity that is a little different. So we're very excited about him.
What have you noticed from Kylan since committing and the idea of coming back home, just as you've gotten to talk to him more since making that decision?
Yeah, really hungry. It's just really hungry. I've seen it. I think there's a focus that is very, very fun to see young people have, and an excitement. And so, that all plays out and becomes really important when you have to apply that to work. You got to feel that excitement in it, and I think he's in a really good place there.
Have you had a kid with the range of Ben? Have you had a kid who can step that far behind the arc? How does that change the pieces?
Maybe Matt. I think Matt was a guy that, obviously was an elite shooter. I think he's a better shooter than Matt. I think he's different, that he's 6'10", and the one thing I really like about him is he has the ability to shoot going away from the basket. Not everything has to be shoulder square or stepping into it. He has the ability to come off stuff. And then you have the versatility where he can set screens and pop, or he can actually come off of them and shoot. And that has tremendous value. We didn't have that this year, and that's a nice luxury to have. Thank you.